be living in a dream. Feel the world inside our feet, and our hearts in the right place. Time quietly slips away.
Yeah. What?
Sky's golden. We run free.
Well, good evening. I want to welcome you to a regular meeting of the Chandler City Council. And for all of you here, let me give you a brief outline of what we're doing. So we have a consent agenda, then a public hearing, which is part of a regular meeting. We will end that and then start our study session, of which most of you are here for. So we do want to welcome you all to our chambers tonight. So to start our regular city council meeting, I'd like to do a roll call.
Mayor Hartke,
Here.
Vice Mayor Rowe,
Here.
Councilmember Stewart,
Here.
Councilmember McClymans,
Here.
Councilmember Wong,
Yep.
Councilmember Lopez,
Here.
Councilmember Orlando.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, City Clerk. Pastor Scott Smith of Trinity Christian Fellowship will be offering an invocation, and Councilmember Mark Stewart will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor.
Let's bow our heads and pray. Father, we love you and welcome you in this place. May your name be considered holy here. We pause to acknowledge that you are merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in love. We ask simply that you would help us to become more and more like you. We invite you to preside over our meeting this evening. May all in attendance sense your presence and seek your pardon. Give our city leaders all the wisdom, stamina, and courage they need to lead our city with integrity. We ask all these things in the powerful name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Councilmember. Council, we've got 6 items on our consent agenda. How would you like to proceed?
Mayor,
Councilmember?
I move to approve the consent agenda Monday, September 9th, 2019, items 1 through 6.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Council, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Council, next we have a public hearing. This has to do with our Chandler Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff is coming forward to make a presentation once you open the public hearing. Mayor, do you need to open the public hearing? Thank you.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor Hartke and members of the City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you this evening and to share the progress we've made over the last year, assisting Chandler residents to improve their level of quality of life as well as independence through the housing stability and neighborhood revitalization efforts. Each year, the city is required to submit a CAPER, or Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, and submit this to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This report provides the outcomes achieved with federal community development block grant funds and home funds. HUD then submits this information into Congress. While it's a required report, I'm so sorry. I did not realize that While it's a required report, it's also an opportunity for us to communicate the variety of housing and support services we have available to Chandler residents, demonstrate how we leverage those funds with local general funds to increase our capacity to serve, and evaluate the progress towards the goals and objectives proposed in our 5-year consolidated plan. It also is an opportunity for us to share our successes in facilitating housing stability and neighborhood revitalization. And now for the highlights. In the area of housing stability, 24 low and moderate income individuals stayed in their homes through emergency home repair and housing rehabilitation programs. 2 low and moderate income individuals became first-time home buyers, purchasing homes that were acquired and rehabilitated through Newtown and the Community Land Trust. 29 households who were in crisis and experiencing homelessness were able to get housed through the Tenant Rental-Based Assistance Program. Residents utilizing public housing and the Housing Choice Voucher Program, otherwise known as Section 8, have the opportunity to participate in the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, saving money towards the purchase of a home. In this past year, in total, 4 participants purchased a home, and 67 other participants continued to save for a home purchase. Savings and home ownership are primary indicators of housing stability. We also provided a number of direct support services highlighted on this slide to a variety of populations, including at-risk Chandler residents. As you can see, we have pictures of our Housing Youth Program participants. Finally, we'd like to share our success in supporting neighborhood revitalization efforts, another important component in promoting independence and improving quality of life. Last fiscal year, we replaced the kitchen and bathroom cabinets in 36 public housing scattered sites. The renovation of Ascend's food bank was also completed, and we remained focused on improving blighted neighborhoods through code enforcement. We began the public comment period on August 27th, and it ends on Tuesday, September 10th. Public comments will be included in the final report. On Thursday, staff seeks council's approval of the CAPER report and authorization to submit the report to HUD, which is due at the end of the month. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions or
Mayor,
comments?
just a comment.
Councilmember Orlando.
As you know, we've, over the last 5 or 6 months, this council reviewed a lot of the whole program, so obviously a lot of those questions were asked earlier, but since there's several stakeholders in the audience here, I just want to let them know that we certainly appreciate what you're doing on limited funds to help keep our city safe and help those in less need, and of course what staff's doing to provide this program. So we certainly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Council, any further questions or comments? All right. Is there any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, we will close our public hearing, and thank you. This adjourns our regular city council meeting. Welcome to the study session of the Chandler City Council meeting this day, Monday, September 9th, 2019. Calling this to order, we have a plethora of scheduled public appearances. So let's get at them. I'd like to invite Vice Mayor to join me up front. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight we'll begin with service recognitions. At this time, I would ask our city magistrate, Judge Dave Fuller, to come forward and make his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members. I'd like to invite Yumi Gohel up. He has his lovely family here with him today. We are delighted to honor Yumi, his dedicated service and commitment to the city of Chandler. Yumi's a devoted probation officer with our municipal court, whose contribution to our community is rarely noticed. He meets regularly with defendants both at the court and off-site, helping them obtain community service hours, schedule needed treatment, and successfully complete all terms of their probation, which often helps put them on a healthier path. Yumi is never too busy to offer his expertise or advice to help our citizens succeed. Congratulations, Yumi, on reaching your 20-year milestone. We look forward to sharing many more years of continued successes with you.
At this time, I would ask Dawn Lang, our Management Services Director, to make her presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, City Manager. I would like to ask Rafael Ortiz to come forward and be recognized for 15 years of service. Rafael began his career with the city in September 2004 as an operations system analyst for Management Services Department. He soon became financial system supervisor and is now the business system support supervisor. Rafael has expertise supporting our Oracle financial system and provides daily technical and functional support for department business users. Over the years, he has served as a lead during upgrades and has helped find and implement many creative solutions that make users' jobs easier. Additionally, Rafael was instrumental in the implementation of the city timekeeping system, and he serves as its system administrator. He also serves as the functional lead for providing electronic payment options for customers across all departments. Rafael's commitment to the city and all of its financial systems shows daily through his interactions. He is a valuable asset to the city, and we thank him for 15 years of service and hope for many more. Thank you.
Mayor, we had one employee that was unable to make it tonight, so that concludes service recognitions.
Thank you, City Manager. Next, we have one of three proclamations. Our first is to the Serrano family for their 100th year celebration. So, if we could have you come up. Let me read this proclamation. Whereas Serrano's is the oldest continually owned family business in Chandler, celebrating its 100th year in business in 2019, and whereas Serrano's Mexican restaurant in Chandler has been serving freshly prepared Sonoran-style Mexican food made from recipes passed down through generations for the past 40 years, and whereas Chandler is proud to be home to Serrano's, where they place the highest value on faith, family, and food. And whereas Serrano's has supported the community through numerous charitable endeavors, including feeding the homeless monthly for the past 16 years, and whereas Serrano's is one of the city's points of pride and an admirable example of a successful local business that has persevered and adopted over time, now therefore I, Kevin Hartke, Mayor of the City of Chandler, do hereby proclaim September 2019 as Serrano's Centennial Celebration Month. And the entire Serrano family invites the entire community to join them for the Serrano Centennial Fiesta, benefiting public safety personnel via the 100 Club of Arizona and the W. Stephen Martin 9/11 Police and Fire Toy Drive, featuring a week of $1 specials. In witness, therefore, and I'll be there, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Chandler, Arizona, to be affixed this 13th day of August 2019 when we wrote this.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just on behalf of the entire Serrano family, those who are here with us, and extended family that wasn't able to be with us, we are truly honored, number one, to have lasted 100 years so far, but we're extremely thankful for the community that we serve, and over the past 100 years that have kept us going, that kept us through the clothing business for 60 years and the last 40 years through the restaurant business. And you're right, we have three values, and that is faith, family, and food. And in that, our parents kind of wove into us a little bit of serving those that we serve. And so we're grateful for them and the fact that they started this restaurant business. So again, we're truly honored, and thank you, Mayor.
Let's get a picture. And I understand I'm challenging the mayor of Queen Creek in a taco eating contest. Team Chandler. Our next proclamation is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I would like to call up Samantha Hinchy and the Domestic Violence Commission. And if Vice Mayor could please read the proclamation.
Okay, welcome. Proclamation. Speak up to prevent domestic violence. Whereas, on average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner nationwide. And whereas in Arizona, every 5 minutes, a law enforcement officer responds to a domestic violence call. And whereas in Arizona, every 44 minutes, one or more children witness domestic violence. And whereas the city of Chandler strives to create a safe community for all to live free from abuse. And whereas the City of Chandler Domestic Violence Commission is committed to preventing domestic violence by endorsing prevention awareness campaigns and educating the community. Now, therefore, the mayor, Kevin Hartke, mayor of Chandler, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2019 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Chandler, Arizona, and I urge all citizens to actively participate in activities and programs to eliminate violence in our community. Terrific.
Thank you so much, Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for your continued support in the with the Domestic Violence Commission for Chandler. And thank you so much for your continued support and your ongoing support of making Chandler a safe place to live, work, and play. As far as activity goes, we are having an activity. The commission is having an event on September 26th. It's going to be great. It's at the Chandler Community Center from 9 to 11 a.m. Please come if you can. It's going to be a really great event. We're going to have lots of great speakers. We're going to have an amazing survivor speaker. And if you've never heard a survivor speaker, it is life-changing. They are literally the strongest people you will ever meet. So please come and join us. We'd really love to have you. Thank you. Yes. Breakfast. Breakfast.
Breakfast it is.
All right, so one of our commissioners, Susan Stevens Clark, is also staying up here for our next proclamation. This is a week without violence. Whereas the Children's Benefit Foundation, a 501c3 organization, makes substantial contributions to the future of America's children by promoting a COOL, choice of optimum lifestyle, and a GOOD, get off of drugs, drinking, danger, debt. You ran out of D's there. Lifestyle. And whereas excellence in wellness and good health is dependent on a safe and healthy environment in home and community, and whereas the safety and well-being of everyone's lives are unnecessarily jeopardized by crime and violence in the forms of gangs, spousal and child abuse, drug and alcohol abuse, vandalism, school shootings, and whereas it is our responsibility as residents of the state to support each other in advocating nonviolence and securing a future for our children and safe families, and whereas all citizens respectfully should view violence as one of our nation's biggest challenges and look for a solution to end violence, whereas the observance of a week without violence will create awareness, educate, and strengthen the message that we can substantially promote all of our state and nation to join in our campaign advocating nonviolence and make a solemn commitment to end the violence, promote peace, making our community a safer place to live. Now, therefore, I, Kevin Hartke, Mayor of the City of Chandler, do hereby proclaim October 5th through 12th as a week without violence.
Mayor Hartke, City Council members, I'd just like to invite everyone to come to the October 5th awards ceremony of the Week Without Violence Peace Poster and Poetry Contest. It will be held at Mesa Community College Performing Arts Center from 1:30 to 4 in the afternoon. Come and see what how the children view nonviolence. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have two exceptional teams that we're going to acknowledge and recognize tonight. Their next items. First is the Hamilton High School Babe Ruth World Series champion. So if we could call up the Hamilton High School baseball team. Take a moment to recognize and congratulate the Hamilton Huskies incoming freshman baseball team for winning the 14U Babe Ruth World Series in Demopolis, Alabama. They have represented Chandler and the state of Arizona well, and we look forward to their futures. So, would you all like to introduce yourselves?
I'm the manager, David Hitchcock.
I'm Logan Cry.
They're freshmen.
I'm Cooper Bass. Josh Tiedemann.
Liam Wilson.
Jalen Choi. Alex McLaughlin.
Cole Klecker.
Andrew Griffin.
Hayden Estes. Rowan Loto.
Zach Tomlinson. Will Sheeler.
Matthew Griffin.
Jacob Espinoza.
Ryan Kuchrak.
Well, congratulations, you guys. Let's take a picture. Our next recognition is to Si Se Puede ASU Poly Desert Wave Underwater Robotics Program. If we could have the Desert Waves team come on up, please. So Si Se Puede is certainly no stranger to Chandler, and we appreciate the ongoing work that has been done in our community. But this really is taking Si Se Puede to a whole nother level. So Desert Wave recently placed, get this, third in an international robotics competition in the world. And I would now So I'd now like to hand the microphone over to Freddie to tell us more about the team and their accomplishments.
Hello, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. The team was started just about a year ago. Si Se Puede, I got hired by Alberto here to bring collegiate level STEM programs to Si Se Puede. And I partnered up with Dr. Dan Frank here, and we rounded up a group of freshman young ladies, and we put together a team that we thought would do pretty good. And it turns out that we did very well. And I'd like to have Andrea introduce the rest of the team.
Hello, my name is Andrea Schoonover, and here, hello, my name is Andrea Schoonover, and here we have Jessica Dirks, Bridget Kale, Maria Espinoza, Paulina Garibay Jaquez, Isabella Bushro, and Whitney Foster, and we are Desert Wave, Women in Autonomous Vehicle Engineering.
This not only brings a smile to our face, but also the recognition and realization that we have a good future in front of us with so many sharp and brilliant women in engineering that will continue to excel in our state and around the world. So we want to thank you. We're mighty proud. So thank you. I'd like to hand out some Chandler pins, but I also have some more recognitions. So this goes to the Si Se Puede Desert Wave team, to Freddie Lavarda, and to Dan Frank. Let's take a picture. Our next scheduled appearance is also a recognition to our city manager is going to take this over for 2019 Employees of the Year. Marcia.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. So each year, our Employee Advisory Committee, made up of 22 city employees, they put out a survey, they get with all the departments, and everyone puts forward nominations for Employees of the Year. At this point, I would like to introduce our chair of our Employee Advisory Committee, Xing Xing Tao, is in the back, if you would stand. And if any other Employee Advisory Committee members are here, if you would stand, please. And Bhavika Bakas chairs this actual Employee of the Year event for us. So thank you to our Employee Advisory Committee. The Employee of the Year Award is intended to recognize and reward employees who are considered by their peers and supervisors to exemplify the standards and values of the City of Chandler and their individual departments. As I call your name, employees, if you will come forward individually, Mayor, if you don't mind, we'll take an individual picture and then ask them to stay up here and take a group picture at the end. All right, from Community Services, our Employee of the Year for 2019 is Courtney Allen. Mayor and members of the council, I'm going to read an excerpt from their nomination as we go along. Courtney Allen is always a warm and welcoming presence at the administrative offices of the Chandler Public Library. She is a dedicated worker who goes above and beyond in her efforts to help both internal and external customers. She adjusts easily to changing circumstances, and her goodwill and pleasant personality add to the high morale of the entire library. Courtney has many duties, yet she is always the first person to offer help to another employee. We are proud to have her as library's management assistant. Congratulations, Courtney. All right, from Cultural Development, we have Terry Rettig. Terry joined the Center for the Arts in 2014 and has helped the center enhance its reach and improve efficiencies. She streamlined processes by implementing an event management system and found new ways to generate revenues for the Chandler Cultural Foundation. She also oversees the Connecting Kids program, which serves over 5,400 young people with free and low-cost art experiences. The center has seen a growth of 45% in arts attendees and has successfully presented national and international touring artists. Thank you, Terry, for all that you do to bring the arts to the Chandler community. Congratulations. All right, top that, Development Services. Ask Lauren Schumann to come forward from Development Services as the Employee of the Year. Lauren has taken on numerous challenges in the last year, including working on the more complicated development cases and seeing them through. Lauren was promoted to Senior City Planner and took on the role of training 4 new planners that came into the division. She never complained and always did whatever it took to ensure everyone was on board and work was completed. She is the division knowledge base and the person everyone goes to when they have questions. Lauren is a tremendous asset to the City of Chandler. Congratulations, Lauren, on Employee of the Year for 2019. All right, from Fire Department, Sarah Ferguson. Sarah is known for her exceptional attitude no matter the task at hand. Sarah is always willing to lend a hand, from teaching a new hire about a piece of equipment to providing tips on how to improve customer service. She donates her time at almost every volunteer event and has volunteered for multiple shifts when there is a shortness of staff. She is a positive influence to be around, and her colleagues feel that they can do their job better knowing Sarah has their back if they need assistance. Congratulations, Sarah. From General Government, Sandra West. Sandra is an integral part of the daily operations of the city. Within the last year, she has ensured that mayor and council office maintained a high standard of operation during staff transitions. In addition to her own duties, she stepped in to supervise and train staff. Sandra is an institution of knowledge that employees from all departments utilize and learn from. Not a day goes by that she doesn't receive a call or visit from another department asking for help or advice. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to service. Sandra, congratulations on Employee of the Year in the general government. All right, from Information Technology, Daniel Duarte. If you ask Daniel's colleagues, they will tell you that he is a rock star. He brings a positive attitude to work every day and helps whenever and wherever he can. Daniel has been voted Employee of the Year for the multiple occasions this past year where he has owned it and never dropped the ball. I imagine that he has helped most of the city staff in this room overcome computer issues at some point. I know you have for me. Daniel's technical knowledge and willingness to help others makes him a valued member of Team Chandler. Thanks for all of your assistance, Daniel. Congratulations. From Management Services, we have Joanne Chang. Joanne is a strong team leader in accounting who proactively provides her staff with cross-training opportunities to challenge, motivate, and enhance their understanding of city revenue transactions. Joanne has amassed a long list of accomplishments in her past 4 years with the city, including decentralizing cash deposits and implementing a paperless revenue recording process, which increased efficiency, saved staff time, and prevented the need for additional staff. With all of her contributions, Joanne's colleagues say her most notable characteristic is her contagious enthusiasm. We are very happy to have you on the team, Joanne. Congratulations. From Neighborhood Resources, David Owens. David has been a recreation leader with the Housing Youth Program for 8 years. This past year, David's role expanded to include managing the Intercession Program, transportation for the youth program, assisting the Aspire to Read to Succeed, and overseeing the Housing's Youth Center's computer lab. This past spring, while a supervisor experienced some health issues, David calmly stepped up to help keep the program running smoothly and efficiently. David is an excellent representative of the City of Chandler and exemplifies our values of integrity, teamwork, respect, self-responsibility, and commitment. Congratulations, David, on Employee of the Year. From Police Department, Karen Arriaga. Karen is exceptionally perceptive and adept at taking on new tasks and shifting gears when unexpected priorities arise. During our recent computer-aided drafting outage, the dispatchers and call takers had to resort to the backup paper card method. Karen lent a hand to make this process much less stressful for the group. She also took measures to proctor more testing for dispatch applicants, all while not letting any of her routine responsibilities lapse. Karen's contributions and presence are a constant pleasure and asset to the city and the police department. Congratulations, Karen. And last but not least, from Public Works and Utilities, Dana Alvidrez. Dana is known for being an exceptional team player. To keep operations running smoothly while there were vacancies on her team, Dana took additional responsibilities for several months. Because of her dedication to the city, the Public Works and Utilities Department was able to maintain high customer service to the citizens of Chandler. With a recent reorganization, Dana joined the Development Services Department, where she continues serving as the city's transportation engineer. and will help to better align the city's traffic and development goals as we reach build out. Congratulations, Dana, on your 2019 Employee of the Year. We'll get a group picture.
Our next recognition is the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting Award, fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018. Dawn Lang.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, City Manager. First of all, I'd like to ask our Chandler's Rock Solid accounting team to come forward and be recognized. I know I've seen a lot of them out there. I'm going to go ahead and start while they're coming up. So I'm happy to report the City of Chandler has received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for our Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, or CAFR, for the 37th consecutive year. This program was established in 1946. It recognizes state and local governments whose annual financial reports conform to high standards established by the Government Accounting Standards Board and the Government Finance Officers Association. The CAFR has become the nationwide standard for local government financial reporting. This report requires about 4 months of intense work. This annual report ensures full disclosure of the city's finances in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and is used by all 3 of our credit rating agencies to help in their assessment of the city's credit worthiness. Here to accept the award for the preparation of the fiscal year 2017-18 CAFR are Christy Smith, our accounting manager, Tracy Schmidt, and Sherry McGlade, our accounting supervisors, Joanne Chang, our employee of the year and senior accountant for the city, Robert Steele and Debbie Moda, our other 2 senior accountants, Tracy Schmidt, our senior accounting specialist, and Robert Corrier, our financial services analyst. Our thanks and appreciation to them and the entire accounting division that couldn't be with us this evening as well, and our team members throughout the departments for their hard work and dedication in this effort. It takes all of us. Well done. Thank you.
Our last but not least recognition tonight goes to our Chandler Fire Department for accreditation. Chief Twiggins.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm very honored tonight to announce that the Chandler Fire Department has once again received international accreditation. This process began almost 2 years ago with the formation of a labor management committee. The committee spent thousands of hours reviewing internal policies, standard operating guidelines, response data, and nationally adopted best practices in public safety. The committee's research in each of these areas led to the creation of 3 strategic documents that were submitted to the Center for Public Safety Excellence. In April of this year, a team of peer assessors from across the country traveled to Chandler to conduct a 3-day comprehensive assessment of our organization. Based on this review process, a recommendation was made to the Commission on Fire Accreditation to reaccredit our department. The final step in this process was appearing before the Commission in Atlanta last month, where the department officially received accreditation status. I'd like to say that we are extremely proud of this accomplishment, and we recognize the role that all members of Team Chandler play in reaching this goal. I want to specifically recognize Management Analyst Nicole Harris, Battalion Chief Susie Vargo, and Assistant Chief Keith Hargis for their leadership and guidance throughout this process. And I want to close by thanking all the men and women of the Chandler Fire Department who proudly serve this community every day. Thank you.
So next on our agenda tonight, we have two people scheduled to speak to us about different issues. First, I would like to invite up Anthony DeRusso with comments regarding Apache Park. Is Anthony here tonight? All right, I'm not seeing Anthony. We can follow up with him. Secondly, Robert Schradler, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, and Leonard Brabson to talk about the proposed Chandler High School at Gilbert and Brooks Farm Road. If you'd please come up and state your name for the, were you two planning on speaking together or separately?
Together.
All right.
I'm Leonard Brabson. Robert Shadler.
All right, and your addresses, please?
3451 East Links Place.
3415 East San Carlos Place.
All right, you have 3 minutes. The lights will indicate the timing.
Very good. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. We come here to talk about concerns regarding a proposed CUSD high school that they want to put at near the corners of Ocotillo and Gilbert Road. Several issues have come up in homeowners around our area that we've come together and talked about. First, and primarily, I'd like to talk about traffic. As many people that live in that section of town will know, Ocotillo and Gilbert Road tends to be a fairly hazardous intersection, and we have had at least one fatality there in the last 24 months. So with the ongoing traffic that we've already had, it's in an area that's highly developed already. It's contributing more and more to dangerous traffic there and needs for more traffic lights. So we believe that adding a new high school with potentially 3,000 students will only make traffic on Gilbert Road much heavier and more dangerous. It will require yet more traffic lights, which could potentially result in 5 to 6 lights in a 1 mile stretch on Gilbert Road. Additionally, there'll be a large impact on the ancillary roads such as Mustang and Brooks Farms roads. These are small 2-lane roads that will have to be reconfigured to handle the traffic there and directly impact those neighborhoods on those roads. Also with the traffic, we are concerned about the greater rush hour delays that this will cause with the additional lights and the traffic of drop-off and or students going to school in the morning. And on the final traffic note, concern around pedestrian traffic is I believe the combination of inattentive students that are crossing Gilbert Road and the distracted drivers is just a little bit of a disaster waiting to happen. We'd hate to see anybody else get hurt there. With that said, one thing that we've noticed is previous high schools that have been built by the district have been built in more underdeveloped areas, allowing for a more thoughtful approach to the building out of the surrounding infrastructure. Adding a high school now in this highly developed area will affect more than traffic. It will affect our aesthetics and sight lines and things of that nature. Noise pollution is also a concern that's been brought to our attention, as residents that live in the area will have to endure endless band practices and Friday night football games and so forth that would really put a damper in somebody's evening. So also on the issue of the area, we've done some comps and we've seen that based off the school district's needs, we found at least 8 properties between the 202, Hunt Highway, McQueen, and Val Vista that are suitable for this project. They're not in such highly developed areas. So while I understand that the city council has little to no input on what the school district can do, we were hopeful that perhaps there's some influence that might be able to leverage. Thank you. Anything else?
Well spoken.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I do know that we will continue to be meeting with the school board, and again, we have concerns too as a city, and we will continue to the dialogue. I know they've also scheduled some public appearances that will also allow you and others to do the same. Council, any additional comments?
Mayor.
All right. Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you for addressing council and sharing your thoughts. You're definitely correct in the traffic issues that we're facing in that particular corridor. I know that staff is looking into that, and we'll be doing some evaluations of that traffic. And with the high school coming in, they'll probably be involved in that as well. But we are aware of it. I live in that area as well, so we'll continue to elevate that discussion internally.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Council, next item on our agenda tonight is the most exciting thing. I'm surprised that people have left. It is conversations related to our consent agenda. So we've had a number of items called in. First is item number 2 by Councilmember Orlando.
Thank you, Mayor. As staff's walking up, I believe Micah was going to talk about this one. This is really an economic issue or a business plan issue, Mayor. As you know, there's been several discussions over the last few months on this project, comparing the old project with an incentive, higher buildings, et cetera, to what we're getting today. And I asked staff to give us a summary of what the economic impact to our community would be versus these two projects. So I've asked staff to look into this.
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, happy to answer that question. So we analyzed the 2 different development proposals, the historic one and the one before us today, strictly looking at the taxable income based on the property. One was at the GIPLET and one was at the standard ad valorem rate. And with this new development, as opposed to the previously approved council, we will be generating an additional $13 million in revenue for the city over a 27-year period.
Thank you, Mayor. And also, obviously, that's not including what the school district would get, because under the GIBLET, they get very little as well.
That is correct. Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, the school district with this new proposal will see about a $14 million increase in taxable revenue.
Good. Mayor, I think we all want to see higher is better in that area. I think we were promised that years ago, but even with an incentive plan, it couldn't be done, or there were some issues in getting it done. With this one, without an incentive, we're going to get a good development here. So certainly appreciate the work the developer's doing on this, as well as what staff's doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item called in by Councilmember Lopez, item number 5.
Yes, I wanted to get a staff presentation on this development of the high-density residential in downtown.
Thank you. Through the mayor, councilman, thank you. I'm happy to give you a brief on this proposal. PLH 190001 is Nevada Street and Commonwealth multifamily project. It's a request for a area plan amendment, a request to rezone to PAD for multifamily, and as part of that, a proposed preliminary development plan with a mid-rise overlay. To acquaint you with the site, this exhibit shows where the subject site is located in red. This is just 600 yards, approximately walking distance from where we are right now. So in the future, residents of this development could come on down to our study sessions to join us if they'd like. Surrounding the site, currently you have to the east, light industrial development. To the north, you have a trailer home community with some duplex development as well. To the northwest, you start to have an apartment complex. And then following further west, you have some city offices, post office, row homes, and then background to us here in council chambers.
First, to go over the area plan amendment. This map is the future land use map from the downtown South Arizona Avenue corridor area plan. And it's currently recommending general industrial or business park development on this site, and the applicant is proposing to change that to high density residential. As part of our review for this request for the amendment to the area plan, in addition to many other factors, we of course look to the general plan, and the general plan specifically calls out that we may consider a compatible mix of industrial support uses and compatible residential densities in the employment areas. And so going off of that recommendation in the overall general plan and the fact that the proposal seems to be compatible with the surrounding existing and developable uses, we're recommending that area plan amendment for approval. Onto the rezoning. The site is currently undeveloped. Going through aerial photos, I don't know if it's ever been developed further than maybe a laydown site temporarily. It's rezoned, or it's currently zoned I2 for general industrial, and they would be rezoning to PAD for multifamily. With that is a mid-rise overlay to allow a height up to 50 feet to the top of parapet. On the photo on the bottom, you see their proposed rendering. They're proposing a 4-story apartment building. There'd be 3 separate buildings, actually. Within the building, there'd be 208 units proposed, and a number of indoor and outdoor amenities. Inside, you would have a clubhouse, a fitness facility, and in the southern building, even a bicycle storage and repair room. On the outside, you would have a grilling area, cabana, private dog park for the residents, as well as patios and balconies for each unit. As part of the development, the developer would be also further providing 28 on-street public parking spaces that don't exist today. Currently, there's no sidewalk. They'd be improving with that infrastructure improvement, undergrounding the overhead utilities, and also providing a rideshare space on Commonwealth Avenue. The site rendering shows again the 3 buildings. You can see the amenities that I went over laid out. To the south is the dog park. Up towards the north, you have the outdoor pool and cabana area. The site will be accessed from both streets, but it otherwise limits its access to keep buildings and healthy activity closer to the street. The ground floor will have units that are accessed directly from the sidewalk by pedestrians or if they're bicycling home, and that'll be great to activate that street. Here you also see that as part of their Planning and Zoning Commission review, commissioners asked that they break up the mass of the building. So in each of the facades facing Nevada Street, you see bays pushed in to the, or courtyards I should say rather, pushed in to each of the buildings to help break that up. Here in render view, you see those bays a little bit better with wraparound patios facing those. Materials for the project include masonry stone material, stucco, and some painted steel as well. Additionally, the landscape palette is pretty lush. There's 2 different palettes along Nevada Street to help, again, further break up that street frontage. And based on the project's alignment with the general plan and the ability for their proposed area plan amendment to align with existing land uses and developable land uses, we are recommending the request for approval.
Thank you. So a couple questions, and these ones I don't have to research, but the land, because in the renderings, they do show landscaping on the west side of Nevada between the property, the street, and the railway. My assumption is that an improvement they are not making, and they're just putting that in rendering, or do they intend to help with landscaping in that property, if that's railroad or not?
Through the mayor, councilman, I believe that is just an artistic component of the rendering.
Yeah, because the bushes in the rendering look a lot prettier than the bushes that are there now, so I'm just kind of wondering on that. There was one other question. The one statement I didn't want to make on this was that we just had a meeting recently with planning and zoning, and we did really push back on a lot of developers saying that our employment needs to stick employment. This is one of those where I do believe this is a case-by-case basis. So we in the city here need to look at every situation, every development with its own merits. And given the location, as mentioned before, with the downtown area plan, we want to increase density. We've been seeing that already with some of the apartments that have come in, multifamily, the business development that has come on. And I think this is one of those where it does lay out as a case that it does really lend itself to a development like this. I think will fit in very, very well with what our future plans and the existing plans that we have for development in the downtown. So I did want to make that clarity statement to the public. So, thank you.
Councilmember Wong.
Yes, I just want to excuse myself from the discussion of this because conflict of interest. Thank you.
And I had a question on this. Can you talk to me? You mentioned 28 provided parking on the streets. You also mentioned rideshare bay. Talk to me about the rest of the parking for the 208 units.
Sure. The exhibit here shows the buildings are located up towards the street, and surface parking is provided on site for all the units. The code allows to count on-street parking spaces towards the required amount of parking when they're constructed as part of the project. And with counting the on-street spaces as well as the spaces provided on site, they meet the required parking.
And what is the number that you're looking at providing? That's my question.
That number I do not have right in front of me, but I do know they are a few spaces over. I can follow up with that specific number. They, at Planning and Zoning Commission, they altered a few units from 1 bedroom to studio, and that further reduces their amount of required parking. So they are exceeding or may have extra actually open spaces.
Can you make sure that we have that information before Thursday, please?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Lopez.
As a follow to that, because they have the rideshare bay, are they one of the first ones that are taking advantage of the new ordinance for the automated vehicle and or rideshare that they get a reduction, or is that not the intent?
They have not requested that reduction based on that because they are meeting or exceeding the parking requirement.
Okay, thank you.
City manager, would that affect a housing unit as opposed to an office space, the rideshare, do you know?
It has an impact on each, but if they're not requesting it, then they're providing the ample number of parking and then also providing that as in addition to.
Okay, very good. Council, any other questions? Councilmember Stewart.
So to understand this, inside is gated, yes?
Yes, sir.
And then outside, people will be parking their cars on the street. Do we have any issues with crime in that area? Higher levels of crime? I mean, I guess my question is deeper. Will this put an undue burden on our police force with having parking on the street?
Through the mayor. In terms of, I don't know what the specific crime rates are today, but as an example, when Alta Steel Yard came in, that area had probably a much higher crime rate. And we actually realized that when we activate those streets, it actually lowers the crime rate. So we anticipate the same thing happening here. Many residents of Alta Steel Yard do park outside the gated facility, actually on 3 sides of theirs, and it activates the streets and brings the crime rates down.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Council, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item called in was by Councilmember Orlando. Questions on item number 9.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a couple of things here. I'll wait until staff gets up here, but I do have a question for the city attorney. Section 4 of this says, and hopefully don't get down that road of eminent domain. It's authorizing you to commence the eminent domain. Request that before, if you have to do that, you come to this council and at least let us know if we've got that impasse.
If I may, Mayor, can ask for clarification. You want the council to know before we proceed with eminent domain proceedings?
All right, well, it says here, that's fine. That's why I was confused. It said here that city attorney is authorized to direct the commence commendation process in the name of the city council. That's why I'm curious. Does that mean you could start the condemnation if there is one, hopefully there isn't, but still comes before the council?
If I may, through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando. So if council approves this resolution on Thursday night, it does include the ability to use eminent domain, but it is always our last resort. And so if there is eminent domain, if the ultimate price for the property falls outside of what would normally be the purchase price, we would definitely have that back on your council agenda. Otherwise, I know in some cases through the county, we have, especially on those county island pieces, they are actually the ones that do those proceedings and not the city.
All right, just the way it's worded here, it just seems like, again, city attorney has the authority, is authorized to direct a condemnation. As long as the council gets to see this, then I have no problem with that. And if that's the correct wording we'd like to use on this, that's fine.
If I may, Mayor, Councilmember Orlando, this is the form. We bring this to you to give full authorization for the acquisition. However we do it, obviously, condemnation is always our last resort.
Okay, I just want to make sure council gets the last word on the condemnation if something should occur. All right, that's on a cheerier note. This is going very well, I assume, and we may not get down that road. And what's the timing on this?
Thank you. Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando. Yes, the acquisition process along Chandler Heights is going very well. There are about 16 county properties that, as our city attorney had mentioned, if it does go to the condemnation process, it does extend the time frame quite a bit. So it is absolutely our last choice to go to that, because if we do go to a condemnation process through the county, it can delay the project substantially. So today, all of the acquisitions are going on schedule. What you have in front of you this evening is an amendment to the resolution to actually help us work with those citizens and residents along the right-of-way to modify some of the retention areas, to actually reduce the sizes, and to actually help the acquisition process and to help those individual homeowners. Originally, the design had some much larger retention basins that had a larger impact on those properties.
All right, specifically calls out those 3 businesses. That's why I was curious. Is that something you're working on next?
Well, the
Well,
business...
two businesses, and then there's a third entity, LLC.
It did mention relocation costs, and particular relocation costs that are mentioned in this have to do with the nursery that has much of their stock up along the road. So as we come through with the road project, those their trees and their stock will need to be moved back away from the right-of-way during that process, and those are the relocation costs that are referred to there.
That's fine, and that's part of the whole acquisition progress. Got it. And you said the timing on this is?
Well, it's moving along quickly. The design process is at about 95% design. So I would imagine that probably within the next 6 to 8 months, a lot of these purchases will be taking place. And so then the road project will come just as quickly as we can after that.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks. Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. Next, item number 12, Councilmember Orlando.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we spoke a little bit about this today, Lee, and I wanted to just double check. You know, we just did this needs assessment, which was a very comprehensive report. Great job, by the way. We talked a little bit about it earlier. I guess my question is, you know, we were debited $89,000 through the agency that has our CDBG funding, and as you know, it's a very scarce resource, and we had several individuals in this room utilizing those resources. My question to you is, because we did this comprehensive report, does that report factor in potentially next year's CDBG allocation?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, unfortunately it does not. Both the CDBG allocation and home allocation that we receive from HUD is based on the American Community Survey as well as census data. So at this point, we're anticipating probably not much change to that formula until the Census 2020 is complete and those numbers, that data is in, and then we can see. We actually have a hope to pick up some additional census tracts that may qualify for CDBG with the new 2020 census. But unfortunately, this data will not assist in that. when we looked at the data for the community needs assessment, we took into account many other data points rather than just the American Community Survey and the census.
So does the American Community Survey get a copy of this as a courtesy copy and put a little note saying, take a look at this, or what?
Through the mayor and Councilmember Orlando, we are more than happy to send it to them. I'm not sure that they would take that to consideration. The American Community Survey actually took the place of the long form from the census in the past. So again, they're probably looking for pure data as far as they determine it to be pure. But we were happy to share that with anyone who would be willing to take a look at it.
All right, I'm driving this really close, I know, but it just concerns me that we lost that little bit of money, and if we had some way of getting it back, I know the agencies would love to see it, even if it's a small change, small piece of that, but thank you, Leah, for all you do.
You're welcome, and we will continue to watch every year as we get that HUD allocation. We will continue to analyze it and ask questions.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Item number 21, related to our county's attention services, Councilmember Orlando.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate you giving me a background on this too, and I don't want to belabor it because I think you gave me I was under misconception that this was the short-term sales. These are the long-term sales that we use the county for. I guess my question to you is the allocation of this. And again, I understand costs go up. I'm not disputing that. How is this allocated to the cities, and how many cities are involved with this, with the county?
So the county is responsible for processing all prisoners. That's their statutory responsibility. So all cities and municipalities in the county use Maricopa County Jail for their felony bookings, and some use them for their misdemeanor bookings. So all municipalities participate in this.
Okay, so the whole county municipality, so I don't know, there's 40, 50, whatever that number is. So do they just do they allocate it by the number of prisoners they see a year, or is it just, you got 260,000 people, Chandler, we're going to divide this by this number, and that's your allocation? I'm trying to get the idea behind the allocation process.
So it's quite simple. They look at the number of prisoners that they process any given year. They use that number to determine the average cost, and that cost then is split between all stakeholders.
So Phoenix, for example, which is 1.5 million people, versus Chandler, I'm assuming, and I guess it's a bad thing to assume, and we could probably get this data, they probably process a lot more people from Phoenix than Chandler does. So are they getting the benefit of Chandler having less, or Gilbert, or some other community?
So the price is standard for all the participants. Obviously, Phoenix, just by volume, they process far more than we would, or some of the other cities. But there's no difference. There's no difference in pricing.
We don't get a
so
discount.
it comes down to per prisoner average, and that is spread among all the participants.
Okay, well, far be it for me to change this after 50 years, whatever it is, but I'm just curious if there's any type of control. Communities that are investing and in cleaning up their, I guess my question is this, Chief, we're trying real hard to clean up our, like other communities are, and yeah, we're going to have some folks that are coming here that are bad guys and gals, but we're investing a lot of money on controlling our own crime, and now, it just seems like we've lost control. We have little control over the input to how that's allocated. I guess that's my question.
Well, we have virtually no input as far as the yearly price increase.
Right.
But this is still, it's a fraction of the people that we arrest are actually processed in county jail. We arrested over 9,000 people in our city last year, and the overwhelming majority of those are processed at our joint holding facility that we have in partnership with the town of Gilbert. So if it's a felony offense, then they must be transported to county jail. We are a temporary facility. We can't hold anyone beyond 24 hours, so that puts very strict limitations on what we can do. And those numbers are a fraction of what we process internally. So I would argue that our partnership with the town of Gilbert has saved us considerable funding over the years, because prior to that, we had never been a 24-hour facility here in Chandler. So we would have to take even our misdemeanor bookings down to county jail.
Right.
So we have incredible cost savings just by using our own facility, our joint facility. And then there's an immeasurable savings of staff hours, where we are not driving routinely down to 4th Avenue Jail in Central Phoenix. So our assets, the overwhelming majority of time, are either in Chandler or they're right on the border in Gilbert.
Okay. Again, don't want to belabor it, but just curious that I just want to know how the equality of that pie. You know, for the communities that potentially a little bit safer, are we benefiting the communities that may have a higher volume of those federal criminals? So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item number 21, item number 24 related to NASET. Councilmember Orlando.
Mike, we didn't get a chance to talk about this today because I was so ecstatic about the $13 million we'd be getting in revenue. But
Yeah.
hey, this is a great program, and I know we've had incubation programs in the past, and you know we've had the center, tech center downtown. There's good things happening, but I guess my question to you, Mike, is how do you derive success? How do you measure success? And do we have goals for this agency? And how do we get reported out on those?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, really good question. There's I'll put like the qualitative stuff, the marketing value that goes into measuring success, how that reinforces the community's brand as a destination for individuals interested in starting technology companies. It's kind of built into our DNA. On the more qualitative side, built into our contract with NASET, there is a scope of work that they must perform and target performance measures built in as well that they report out to us on a quarterly and annual basis, sir.
Do we see that as a council?
It's in the contract this year. We can deliver those through quarterly council memos if that's something you guys would like to see.
I would like to see those, obviously. Again, in any other contract, there's measurements, and definitely like to see those and see how well they're doing. Again, these are great programs, but I just don't see the, like I said, I'd like to get a little more fidelity in how we're achieving success in those particular areas.
We appreciate that feedback, and it's one of the things we've added to the contract this year is to elevate the visibility of the program. There's a lot of good things going on out there, but we haven't been doing as much effort and putting as much effort into that as we should and getting the word out about those clients and the businesses they're growing here in Chandler.
Okay, great. By the way, how many are in this center right now? How many potential startups?
I believe the client has 25 active clients right now, and we're going through new applications as we speak.
Great. Thank you, Mayor.
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 Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
City
Mayor,
Manager.
Yeah, through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, we would be happy to report that out quarterly for this new year. But if you will also on the last page of your council item, you can see the last fiscal year in total, just for some more immediate information.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Councilmember Stewart.
I would just want to comment too. Did Mom Docs is gone through that program, right? They started as in the incubation phase, and now they're in the Series A round. Is that correct?
Through the mayor.
I just did a video on them, I believe, like them and who was the drone company that came through NASET?
Through the mayor, Councilmember Stewart, Lisa Porter at Job Docs, and then Noah Ruiz at Skynet West is one of our unmanned aerial vehicle incubation companies.
And he's going like beyond regional and housed right here in Chandler, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions related to this? All right, thank you, Micah.
Thank you.
Item number 25, Councilmember Orlando.
Thank you, Mayor. Gee, we don't see you for a while. We see you twice in one day, man, twice in 3 hours. Yeah, so this is good news that we replaced the flooring. I guess my concern is, or my question is, I presented this both to Ms. Weeks and of course Josh right here, and we chatted a little bit earlier. My concern is shutting down the facility for two, maybe 3 weeks. This is probably one of the few areas in Chandler where we actually compete with the open market. And I guess my concern is that if we have any other ideas of how we could reduce the time frame of closing these centers, because I'm afraid after 2 or 3 weeks, folks may go elsewhere. There's a lot of benefits out there, $10 a month, and maybe they'll catch them for a couple of months, we'll get them back, but extremely concerning with me. In fact, I've actually talked to a few of because I use this center, full disclosure, and it's a great center. And, you know, there's a high concern about that. And so I don't know how we can mitigate that. If there's some way we could look at the contract, we'll approve the contract. I have no problem with that, obviously. But if some way staff could take a really hard look on how we can reduce the time frame so we don't potentially lose some of those customers.
Thank you. Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, that is our major concern as well. Certainly, we don't want to close, but certainly replacing these large area flooring, it is a necessity that we will have to close. And we will work with our contractor to try to minimize that. We will start off by marketing that we will be closed for a time and let people know that we'll be crediting the time that we're closed to the end of their pass, so they will be credited for that time. And it's just for the upstairs. The remainder of the facility will be still open and still our programs will still happen as scheduled. So it is just the fitness area and the track that will be affected.
Yeah, so again, hopefully we could notify them, we could, you know, obviously, but again, hopefully staff could look at this with the contract and figure out some other ways we could get through this without this really long closure. So.
Yes, we will do our best, absolutely.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Andy. Next item, item number 26. The umpire has words to speak. Councilmember Orlando.
Thank you, Mayor. We chat a little bit about this. Like any contract we do in Chandler, we want to ensure that we're getting the best services. We ask folks to provide certifications. We ask folks to provide bonding. We ask folks because we want to get a good feel that we're getting a good product. And the same applies to this. I just want to ensure that, and I don't work for Southwest. I don't know Southwest. I do other agencies, you know, 4 or 5 different umpiring agencies. But I want to make sure there is a couple of clauses in here. Must be certified by ASA or USA Today. I believe the umpires have to be insured to reduce our cost, reduce our liability. I want to make sure that we are using whatever certifications in here. Now, if it's not USA, is there another certification they're using, you know, in lieu of? I just don't see that in here.
Yeah, thank you. Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando. All of our umpires are required to be certified. And we do receive a report before the start of every season of every umpire that will be on our fields, their certification, the date of their certification, and how long they have been certified. So we get quite a bit of information on each umpire. And as part of this contract, certified umpire has to be working our game or they would be in violation of their contract.
Okay, so we do get a copy of that?
Yes, before the start of every season. And then we do have a mandatory training with all umpires where we meet them and we can verify it at that time as well.
So how do you validate that the agency that's certifying them really did certify them?
We could reach out to the certification agency and do those reports. We have not done that in the past, but that's something that we can certainly do. But we do look at the agency that certifies them, and again, length of term that they've been certified for a certain amount of length.
I think it's extremely important. The reason why we had a certification years ago, we put this in, is because we've had a lot of them, many umpires, quite frankly, that really were just plugging a 2-hour hole, 3-hour hole. We had so many concerns and issues with bad umpires, bad judgment, case like, I mean, we're all bad umpires. I get that. I mean, I deal with that all the time. But my point is, truly had some bad umpires. We also had some issues where fights broke out. These are all the things we have to look at, certification and how they're certifying these individuals.
Thank you. Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, we agree with you. They are critical to the success of our programs. In terms of the insurance question that you brought up, the contractor is required to carry insurance for every single umpire. If they are considered an independent or a subcontractor to this group, then they are required to show that they have the personal insurance coverage that is mandated in this contract.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Andy. Item number 30, Councilmember Orlando.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a briefing by staff. We're adding bicycles to this sensor system. I think that's something we really should be talking a little bit about and touting us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Councilmember Orlando, I'm glad you brought this up. Something that we're really excited about, it's replacing our existing video detection system that is in all of our, it's on every approach to every signalized intersection within Chandler. And most of the ones that we have out there are about 10 years old. With any technology, that's beyond its useful lifespan for technology and for this particular technology. So this contract will allow us to buy 160 new cameras, so roughly 40 intersections. And not only will it have upgraded features that include video detection with higher resolution, also includes thermal detection for vehicles as well as bicycles. So that's an added detection, added functionality. That's something beyond what we have now. And it also, with that thermal detection, helps us. Right now we have some trouble with dusk and dawn timing as well as with weather conditions. So this newer technology helps us bridge that gap and get better service to our signal system that's out there today. And one of the things that we're excited about with this particular project and this procurement is it's in line with some of the new strategies that were recently rolled out with implementing innovation and technology to improve mobility, enhance safety, promote efficiency for all the Chandler Road users. It also uses alternative funding source. It's approximately 75% grant funded on this particular project.
Great. I know the mayor's an avid bicyclist like myself, so I'm sure you're just happy as I am to see a little more safety technology, right, Mayor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Thank you, Dana.
Mayor?
Councilmember Stewart.
I was going to ask about the grant funding. So when the grant funding ends, are we on the hook for that? Or is this a one-time purchase?
It's a one-time purchase for these 40 intersections. We are pursuing grant funding for additional intersections in the future. And in fact, those grants are due next week. And it'll be grant funding for the next 3 years. So we should find out shortly if we have additional grant funding in the near term.
Vice Mayor.
Yep, thank you. Good presentation. I just have a question about thermal. Given our weather here in Arizona, has that been demonstrated to us where it's efficient and effective?
It has. We have them on several intersections to date in the city, and we have tested them through the summer months. Actually, we've tested them year-round, but specifically in the summer months, and it has proven effective. And like I said, it uses both the imaging and the thermal, so it can detect either way, so it's more reliable than any one or the other.
Thank you.
Councilmember.
I just have a question. So what is the purpose? Can you? I just want to ask a question. What is the purpose of this bicycle detection system? Why is that helping? What is helping in what area?
Good question through the mayor, or council member Huang. This for the video detection for the vehicles as well as for bicycles, it helps the signal system. It feeds into our traffic signal system, so it tells it if there's a vehicle or a bicycle in that direction, so it gets green time when their cycle comes up in the signal system. So specifically for bicyclists, it'll detect them. And if there's a bicyclist on a particular movement, it'll extend the green time in that area or in that direction so that a bicyclist can cross through the intersection safely. Obviously, they travel slower than vehicles, so it helps extend that green time for bicyclists.
So that means we have artificial intelligence there?
It's technology that we use, now for the signal system for the vehicles. It's a similar technology. It's just applying it to bikes, so it does recognize the difference between a bicycle and a vehicle. And then in our programming of our signal systems, we have maximums and minimums set in there, but it can extend the green time up to the maximum to serve if there's a long queue in one direction versus another, or in this case, if there's a bicycle on one detection that maybe there's not a vehicle present there, but there's a bicyclist, it would give that a green, indication as well throughout the cycle or through that phase of the cycle.
Okay, thank you.
I've been in that situation, so thank you. And I like to think I can keep up with traffic, at least over speed bumps. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 32, Councilmember Orlando.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question, not so much the project, it's an important project. This is just the study, as you know. We have another $30 million potential for these two upgrades facilities. And my question to you earlier today, and of course to the city attorney, was can the Intel funds, there's a pot of money that we could use, this community, Chandler in particular, could use to support the upgrades for the Intel facility. It was a legislative process happened a year or two ago. And I guess my question was, can this money be used for that project? And I believe the answer was no, because it's not an improvement, right? So I guess the question I have, or at least the request I have the city manager, is can we get with our lobbyists from both Intel and our city lobbyists and figure out if there's some language we could put in there to allow us to do maintenance? Because again, we're going to put the Price Road in, but 5 years from now, we have to go do an overlay. We have to pay for that. We have to do a $30 million upgrade. We have to pay, our residents have to pay for that, well, in Intel. If we do something like that, that potentially could save us some money, because now we could utilize this state funding resource, and maybe water rates could stay a little lower for a couple more years versus, or a bond could be less versus more. So if we could take a hard look at that and work with Intel, see if there's some language we put in there for upkeep of this facility as well.
Yes, through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, we will certainly reach out. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. And last, item number 49, I know this is already continued to November. Councilmember Orlando.
Mayor, I probably have a conflict of interest on this issue, but I did talk to staff earlier. I just realized that my son lives, I looked at the address of this earlier or later today, so I'll reserve my comments. Staff's working the issue, so.
All right. Thank you. Seeing no other questions or comments from council, good session. Let's adjourn this meeting.